What is up, everybody? It is week 15. Can you believe it? Week 15. It's crazy to think that we only got a couple more weeks left to go before the end of our DFS season. This week in week 15, I'm calling it we're living in the middle this week. I feel like all the guys we want to talk about tonight, we're going to be kind of like in the middle range. A couple guys we like to pay up for, but for the most part, I think we're paying in the middle. Not a whole lot of value on the slate, but we will talk about it. Of course, our stacks and our sick call as well. So hang tight.
Going for two, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top end. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah.
What is going on? And welcome to episode 412 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. Of course, I am your host, Geoff Lambert. Follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Find us on the GoingFor2 Live Podcast Network. We got a whole host of shows on the network, so make sure you find us on YouTube, on Facebook Live. Of course, we're on Twitch, and of course, GoingFor2.com, syndicated in all major podcasts. All right, I'm here with my co-host, as always. Tim, what's up, man?
I'm doing good, Geoff. Doing good. Coming off another good week, man. Been on a bit of a winning streak here, so looking to keep it going.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And just freshly back from Michigan, right?
Yes, sir. Out of the snow.
And of course, Gerson, who keeps threatening to quit here in the third quarter. He's threatened a couple times now. What's up, G?
Oh man, it's week 15. I guess I can't quit, right? If I would have quit, I would have quit a long time ago.
Yeah.
Not much, man. I mean, week 15 went pretty well. I guess for the first time, I just ignored my quarterback pick, followed you guys' quarterback pick. But then again, I was on high on Sam Darnold, and he hit when I didn't talk about him. So maybe I'm just kidding. I'm going to talk about quarterback.
All right, fellas. A couple of housekeeping things. As I mentioned, it's week 15. This show will do week 16 and week 17. We will skip week 18, and then we'll come back and do the wild card weekend. So 3 shows left for us here. My Wednesday show has ended, but this Wednesday, the 18th, is our 5th annual holiday show. So you got to tune in for that. We play a lot of trivia. I got some new games playing this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think we got 10 of our Going for 2 hosts coming on. Should be a lot of fun. So make sure you check that 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. All right, let's get into the rewind.
The weekly rewind. Rewind.
All right, Gerson, we'll go to you first here. Give me your one good, one bad from last week.
My one good was my lock of the week. It shows Judy. At least he hit 17.4. I think he got 17.7. One or two. But yeah, he hit. I was kind of nervous for a second, but then it all came together.
Yep.
I mean, he was just cheap, and to be honest, I almost put him today, but there's just so many damn good plays that Geoff wouldn't allow me to add another slot to the wide receiver spot. So yeah,
good stuff.
And then one bad, Kamara and Saints defense. I wanted to stack them together. Well, Kamara was a killer. Like honestly, he was a big letdown last week. I mean, it's a lot. 2 of the top tier running backs will be let down last week, so it kind of killed you. I mean, we kind of talked about it though. We said we wanted to play all the value running backs. We were waiting for the news about Charbonnet. I think the Charbonnet news came out when Saturday.
Yeah, we weren't sure about it until I think Saturday. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
we were saying that he was our favorite one.
We did, yeah. We called that out for sure.
Yeah.
Tim,
I was surprised none of us picked that as our one good because we were all over Charbonnet. So maybe we just said it was collectively.
We ranked it pretty good too. We said Charbonnet, Durando, and then Braylon Allen.
Allen.
Yep.
Yeah, true story. So for me, it was Sam Darnold. Like Gerson said, he was my number one quarterback last week. I played him in cash. I played him in most of my tournaments. He won me the lunch money, so I'm forever indebted. But unfortunately, the one mistake I did make is I had a 2v2 that came literally down to 10 minutes before lock. And it was Justin Jefferson and Isaac Garendo versus Alvin Kamara and Juwan Jennings. And I ended up going the Kamara Jennings route, which still did okay because Jennings did well. But that JJ part would have smashed.
Yeah.
And it would have been one of my best days in a long time. So I literally had it in there. And 5 minutes before I chickened out and went with Kamara because you played it in cash and didn't want to be on an island. So fuck me.
So on the show last week, I mentioned that if you wanted cheap exposure to that Vikings game to play Jordan Addison,
You did.
I did not see that game coming. I just thought he would put up a decent game. I did not see 3 touchdowns, but I did play him in a bunch of my lineups because I wanted some cheap exposure to that game. So that paid off pretty well. And then my lock of the week just fell flat on his face. Brock Bowers did absolutely nothing. I don't know what happened with it. He went from being super targeted to not being targeted almost the entire first half. So yeah, Brock Bowers was a tough call there. I did pivot off of him on Sunday morning. At least I didn't have much of him as I had previous, so that did kind of pay off a little bit.
Can I tell a story real quick?
Yep.
Yeah.
Real quick. Okay, so on Saturday night we had a guys' night. We played blackjack. We have a little table. We watched college football and all of this. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna regret this in the morning. I gotta be up in the morning and make my rosters, And I always reserve my rosters and everything. Boom, I go and do it, and then I do prize pick also. I mean underdog. But yeah, and then fast forward to the next day. I go home. I finish my rosters at my friend's house, and I go home and everything. I fall asleep, dude. Like I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I fell asleep. I knocked out. We had a long night. I woke up. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna rest them. And I swear, you guys ever had like where you open your eyes, close them, open your eyes, close them? My way was open my eyes, close them, touchdown, Justin Jefferson, touchdown, Jordan Addison, touchdown, Justin. I'm like, oh, I gotta wake up. I gotta follow this stuff. And then I'm like, oh man. And all my rosters in my GPP were doing great. And I'm like, oh man, I gotta go check my prize pick. I smashed on prize pick by like the third quarter on all my props. And I was like, nice. And then the next thing I know, I'm like, all right, I'm going back to bed. And then when I woke up, I started looking, I'm like, all the games that we talked about were hitting. So last week was great for all of us, I would say.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this week.
Let's talk quarterbacks.
All right, G, let's start right here at the top, man. What do you got for
Oh man, speaking of quarterback, can we talk about a guy that just like broke the record for the most quarterback points ever? Like it was crazy. Like I was watching a TikTok about who like had all the all-time record. Jerry Rice was up there twice. And they just kept going. And I think Tony Gonzalez was one, and they kept going, and then they go quarterback Josh Allen. And I was like, what? Last week was just the highest total game. Like it never crossed my mind that would have been the most insane game. Well, I mean, Josh Allen, 50-point quarterback performance. It's the best quarterback performance since Michael Vick in 2010. I mean, he has the highest total game, 54. You can't go wrong with that. He's averaging about 31.7 DraftKings fantasy points per game and 16 for the game with projected over 52 points. So you do the math, he's pretty much locked for 30 points. I mean, it kind of sucks though because I always feel like he's a slow starter. And next thing you know, by the second, third quarter, fourth quarter, he's up flat. He just boom takes off. But it's just the game script. This game's gonna be amazing. I'm really excited to watch it. Like people are saying, it's a Super Bowl preview. I don't know why any other quarterback that I want to pay up for besides him. I understand the Lamar Jackson argument, but in that game, I can see it getting away. In this game, I can't see it getting away. So I'm going to have a lot of exposure to Josh Allen. If you play on FanDuel, which I don't, disclaimer, you need to lock him in because on FanDuel, touchdowns are like king. So Yeah, give me Josh Allen at 8,500 on DraftKings, and his stats aren't that expensive, so you can make it work.
Yeah, agreed. Tim, what you got for your favorite plays?
Yeah, I really like Josh Allen too. The only thing I will add is that Aaron Glenn, who's the DC for the Lions, his defensive scheme is susceptible to running quarterbacks. That's why people really like Anthony Richardson when they played against him. So just imagine what Josh Allen's going to do. But Gerson mentioned there's not really any quarterback he wants to pay up for other than Josh Allen. The one other guy I like is Jaden Daniels. This is a guy I've been playing literally all year long. And he's coming off a bye and gets a game against the terrible New Orleans Saints. The only real risk here is blowout, but we've seen earlier this year that they'll be up 3 touchdowns and keep throwing. So this could be a huge game for Daniels. Really easy to stack him this week, particularly this week with an injury we'll talk about later. So that's one of my favorite stacks this week for sure.
Yeah, so I like the Josh Allen a lot. That's probably my top play. But if you wanted to pivot and get lower ownership, I don't mind Lamar Jackson at New York Giants at 8.3. He actually averages almost as much as Josh Allen does per game. They are also coming off of their bye, and they came off. They had that tough loss before their bye, so they're going to come out angry. The Giants obviously not a good team, so I think L-Jax could be a good play as well. I'll just mention the other couple guys that we've got. Kyler Murray is going to be a really popular play. I think last I checked, he was like the top two on Kyler Murray, obviously. And then Bo Nix, Tim, why don't you talk about Bo Nix a little bit? Because at 6.3, he's pretty interesting.
Yeah, he is. And again, this is another quarterback coming off a bye. And he gets just one of the best matchup against the Indianapolis Colts, who just can't stop anybody on the other side of the ball. But the one thing about Bo Nix, like, it's really crazy. Just a few weeks ago, we were targeting the defenses against Bo Nix, but he's really turned it around. I think he's really found a place. Sean Payton figured out a way to take advantage of his skills. And again, I think this is a game where they're going to get up and they're going to keep throwing.
Yep.
So I'm going to be all over Bo Nix. And the best thing, again, super condensed target tree.
Yep.
Right? You know who his number one stacking partner is, and then you just move forward. So for me, it's definitely it's everything, right? Matchup, he's got the volume and the price.
Yep, love it. We'll move down into salary savers. We'll go to you, Gerson. Give me one of your salary saver quarterbacks here.
I don't want to skip on Joe Burrow though.
Yeah, for sure.
Joe Burrow is going to be a hell of a play. I mean, guys averaging 25 DraftKings points in 5 games, in consecutive game, and that's 4 times value each time. And then he's thrown for 3 or more touchdowns in 5 straight games, 300 yards too in 4 straight. So don't ignore him. I'm gonna have a lot of Joe Burrow for sure. At value, I mean, we'll go with. I mean, it depends for me this week. I want to make sure that Lad McConkey plays. If Lad doesn't play, it kind of hurts me. Like I want to still play him, but I won't be as exciting to play him. It's Justin Herbert. In case you don't know who Lad McConkey played on, But yeah, I mean, he draws a great matchup against Tampa Bay. There's a single softer schedule against them. They allow 5 points more games per average against quarterbacks. I mean, allowing the 4th most passing yards per game, 271, and 10th most passing touchdowns, 21. The other thing is Tampa Bay's schedule. If you look at it, they haven't really exactly played great quarterbacks. So that should be worse. Like that matchup. I mean, not that matchup, but that statistic should be worse. I mean, I think Herbert is a top 10 quarterback. So, but we've seen since J.K. Dobbins was out, they're just like, all right, this run game doesn't work out. Nope. I mean, Gus Edwards, that bust ran out of fuel. Monty Vidal, well, there's the reason why you were a 5th round pick or whatever round pick you were, But Justin Herbert, if Lad McConkey's healthy, I'm very excited for that. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Will Dissly. Thank you for making us some money when you were cheap. Yes. Mad prop. But yeah, give me Justin Herbert, 5,900 against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, one thing I want to add there again is that he mentioned the J.K. Dobbins injury. Before that, they had a negative pass rate over expectation. Since then, they have one of the highest pass rates over expectation in the league. So like he said, it's a clear change in scheme and philosophy because they, just take advantage of Herbert. Yeah, my guy this week is Jameis Williams. James. No, it's famous Jameis Winston, right? I'm going back to Jameis again. The Chiefs started out as one of the best passing defenses in the league, but over the last 4 weeks, man, they've kind of crumbled. I think it's really kind of been some injuries in their secondary, but they've also kind of failed to put a lot of pressure. And we saw a couple of weeks ago, Aiden O'Connell kind of tore them up. So I really like Jameis Winston. I like him. I like him more. And Njoku said he's going to try and play. And I don't know if that's possible. He's been basically out all week. If he does play, I like this much more than I do with Jordan Akins. But at 5,500, I just think he's so cheap and we've seen the upside. So I'm not worried about this defense for him. He's going to throw it. And again, like Gerson said, Jerry Jeudy's pretty close to a lock this week. So might as well make it easy.
Agreed. So I knew you two would go that route, so I had to find a third to talk about. So I put Anthony Richardson on the sheet there at 5.8. Again, lower ownership. He's got at least 9 rushes over his last 3 games. And that's really what you want from him. You want those rushing yards, those rushing touchdowns. And we've already mentioned, how good the Broncos are playing. I think the Colts are going to get down here, and they're going to have to just keep throwing it and dropping back, and he's going to keep scrambling and running, and hopefully he can put some points up in what should be a losing effort. But we don't care about wins or losses. We just want points. And I think he can get there at 5.8. So I like A-Rich this week. All right, move to the tight ends.
Did somebody say tight ends?
All right, Tim, why don't you kick us off here at the tight end position?
Yeah, this is a week where, again, I didn't really like any of the top end tight ends. And then the more I looked at it, I was like, you know what? I like Trey McBride. I've played him almost every week this year. Last week, I actually was going to play him over Brock Bowers because it seems like he's consistent. He's doing incredibly well despite not scoring touchdowns. And this week, I think it sets up a great matchup against the Patriots. It's going to be popular, particularly stacking with Kyler. It's going to be one of the most common stacks. But I don't know how many people are going to be paying up for tight end this week.
Yeah.
I think that is the one spot people are going to pay up for. But I think you can get different, particularly if you can pay up at one of the running back spots in addition to playing Trey McBride. If you can figure that out, I think you have a great shot in tournaments.
Agreed.
So he's the only guy I think that has a ceiling to make you not want to punt, because I think the clear plan this week is to punt tight end.
Yeah. Gerson, what do you have for your favorite plays here?
No, I felt the same way about tight end. It was ugly. I am more based on the slate that we have. It's a little different. Like McBride's a great play, but I have Travis Kelce. I mean, Kelce draws a pretty good matchup. But again, I think people are just going to be afraid to play him. I think it's just I haven't checked his ownership, but I can't imagine it being that high because of all the values and stuff. What is Kelce?
It like 4%. Under 3%. Yeah, 3-4% for sure.
Versus Cleveland, he's gonna be good pepper to target like he always does. And again, 5.7K. I mean, that's pretty cheap for a guy that was costing probably $7,000 last season at this time. So I know the home Kelce hasn't been that great this year, especially if you played him last week. You weren't very happy with it, but I just think Jameis Winston's gonna sling it, man. I think this game, this game could be very sneaky. Like honestly, it really can, and that's why I kept looking at that game. I'm like, man, am I gonna regret not talking about Mahomes? And then I saw that we had Jameis. I'm like, at least we have Jameis,
Yeah.
But can't forget Jameis. But yeah, Kelce 5.7K. This is more of an ownership thing. He can carry in because I think everybody's just gonna do what we're gonna talk about next.
Yeah. The only other guy that I had in the top range there was Mark Andrews, who's really come on lately. He's got a touchdown in 3 of his last 4 games. He's got 7 and 5 targets in his last 2. If you are playing L-Jacks, you're probably playing Andrews in a stack, and at 4.1, he falls in that range where you're not paying all the way up and you're not punting like what we're going to talk about here in a second, some guys that we're going to be punting. So I think Andrews goes sort of overlooked there at 4.1. Speaking of punting, let's move down into the salary savers. And I think this is kind of where we're going to be getting a lot of our value on this slate. We don't have those cheap running backs and those cheap receivers really this week. So tight end is where you're going to be punting. Gerson, what do you have here for one of your salary savers at tight end?
Yeah, I mean, tight end. There's a lot of ways you can go for it, but I think a lot of people are just gonna be like, all right, you know what? It looked ugly at the top. I'm just gonna go bend down. Um, to me, it was tough, but I'm going. Well, do you want to talk about your one guy you have, Jeff? Because I don't
No,
want to steal
go
him
ahead.
from you.
Go ahead. You could take them. I'll just move into the next category.
I'm going to Brent Strange, man. 2.5K. This guy's actually pretty athletic, pretty good. We saw him earlier on in the season, and he didn't do too bad when he stepped in. Evan Ingham, I want to give you a shout out that you suck because I was all over you in fantasy
Best
football.
ball? Yeah.
You and I think I said that a couple weeks on the show. Like I was like, oh yeah, dude, I'm gonna go all in on Njoku and Evan Ingham for the rest of the season. Now, yeah, you screwed me
Not
over. But I mean, we've seen this guy perform before. He's had a 5-for-5 game against him, Green Bay Packers, 59 yards, 10-point game. We're not asking for a lot. We're just asking for about 9 points, 10 points. We know tight ends that are 2.5. They're not going to break the slate unless your name was Harrison Bryant 2 years ago. I still
yeah.
remember that because you won me a lot of money. Shout out to you, 2.5K on 30 minutes before game lock. True, that was crazy.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna. We're like 2.5K. I can't tell you he's gonna get you 2 touchdowns. But it's against the Jets. I think the Jets are gonna lay it on Jacksonville Jaguars offense. So we're gonna have to keep up with pace. And Mac Jones, dude, like, oh man, I can see why you never worked out. But at least if you're gonna need a safety blanket, it'll be Brent. Is it Brent or Brett?
Brenton. Yeah, it's Brenton.
Brenton Strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a strange name, right?
Yes. Tim, there's another punt guy there. You want to talk about him next?
Yeah, I want to talk about two guys, if that's okay. One is
Yep.
Stone Smart, who's kind of the chalk, right? I think he's the cash play. Will Disley, as Gerson mentioned, is out, so everybody will be playing Stone Smart at 2,600. The play that I'm interested in is Jake Ferguson because I think he has actual slate winning upside at 3,800, right? This is a guy we were gladly paying 5K plus for earlier in the season. Yeah, yes, he's got Cooper Rush throwing to him, okay? But he's also playing the Panthers, which is arguably the best matchup for a tight end. And he's 3,800. Like, if Travis Kelce and Trey McBride don't smash and Stone Smart gives you 8 points, he only really needs, or a 0, right?
Yeah.
He really only needs 17 to
Way
put
to
you
go,
in the
Jack.
winning line. Right, absolutely. But that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, especially since the running back play on his team is going to be super chalk, I think Jake Ferguson, kind of for me, looks like one of the best leverage plays on the entire slate.
Yeah, I love that call for sure. All right, and I had Brenton Strange as my only value tight end. Actually, I had him written there. I had to cross him out because Tim had him at a sick call for a minute, and then Tim said, "Oh, wait a minute, he's gonna be too high owned. Let me."
Yeah, he did. He moved up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go
I
ahead
didn't
and
want
get.
to call you out, but I was like,
Yeah,
hopefully
Yeah,
you get he goes away from Michigan and realizes something.
that's exactly what happened. Yes.
all right, let's jump into the running backs here.
It's time for running backs. Running backs.
All right,
Can we get the rare triple drop here?
yeah, the triple drop. Who am I doing the triple drop? Oh yeah, we got. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Lock it in.
All right, Tim, kick it off here.
Oh, I thought you were going to play the
There it is.
King Henry
Find
drop.
it.
Here it is. Yeah, man. It is King Henry week. We have officially entered December. And to me, this is the first play I clicked on when I opened the slate. And the best thing about this play is we have a bunch of running back value that people are going to be jamming in. And so Derrick Henry, who should be a 30% owned running back on this slate, like Saquon was last week, will be coming in sub 20%. And I'm hoping for sub 15%. He's going to be around 15 at least. But to me, this is what we thought the Saquon Barkley play would be last week, right? He's on the road, but he gets the Giants coming off a bye. He just smashes in these scripts, man. He almost never lets down. So to me, it's just too easy. You're going to play two of the cheap running backs, and you're going to play Derrick Henry and figure the rest out.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm looking at right now. He is sub 16% right now.
Dude. Too easy.
That
Go
blew my
ahead, Gerson.
mind. It blew my mind that I saw. So when I opened the slate, I was like, oh yeah, this guy got to be the highest owned running back against the Giants
Thank
blowout.
you.
Winter. What it's gonna be probably like 30 degrees. Oh yeah, this is. Oh, like I started
Yeah.
looking. I'm like, where's he at? And then when I saw James Conner was higher on, and I'm like, are we drunk? But then the funniest thing is, I also saw this on TikTok or somewhere. Malik Neighbor was catching passes from Shadur Sanders. So I was like, this guy's already clocked out. This guy don't care.
Done.
He's
He's
gonna
done.
be like,
Zero.
drop the ball.
No, as soon as Dexter Lawrence, who's like their defensive captain, went out, that team just halfway quit, man.
Yeah.
Done.
So yeah, it's the lock of all locks. Like
I hope they
just
win
figure
though.
this
If
out.
they win, I'd be so happy. As a Raiders fan, I would be so happy. They're not gonna win,
Yes.
guys.
No. All right, Lee, go ahead. Hit another lock here.
Lock it in.
All right, Gerson, give us your lock.
I'm not gonna lie. When you said 3 dropped, I was like, my lock, King lock. Oh, Henry drop.
The
Yeah,
D.
there you go. That makes
I
sense.
man, I had to find it on my board here.
Yeah, man. So here's the reason why I hate drafting rookie running backs. Um, because one, well, running backs you don't want to really pay up for them. The wide receivers longevity. There's some DFS. I mean, not DFS. Dynasty 101. But Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL last week. That sucked. I mean, my brother, by the way, shout out to you. You are a piece of crap. Send me Jonathan Brooks with Joe Mixon, and then say, dude, he still has one good knee. I'm like, screw you, dude. I'll take Joe Mixon. But anyway, yeah. And Miles Sanders out. Raheem Blackshear will probably be limited by injury, but nobody even knows who he is. And if you want to know who the next in line is, Mike Boone. Yeah, Mike Boone from the Minnesota Vikings from like 5 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, this sucks. I mean, but it's Hubbard, man. The matchup is one of the best matchup you can get. It's against the Cowboys. They rank, I think, 30th overall against the run. Basically, one of the best matchup for fantasy running backs too. They allow the third most rushing yards per game at 141 yards. That's crazy, dude. This Cowboy defense is abysmal. Like, if there's anything you want to attack the Cowboy defense with, it's definitely through the run. Here's the crazy part, though. You ready for this? If you were to tell someone at the beginning of the season that the Carolina Panthers were favored against the Dallas Cowboys, what do you think anybody would say?
Crazy.
No way, Jose, right? Well, they're favored. And this isn't like they creeped up favored. They were favored from the beginning of the week. Like, you know how usually sometimes they're like, Vegas, like, oh, yeah, they're a 3-point favorite, 2 point. Oh, they're not favored. You know, no, they were favored. So, and Bryce Young has been playing a lot better. Shout out to him. I can't imagine like going through all the crap he just went through this whole season. And now he's looking better than CJ Stroud. Don't come at my neck. Just go look at the stats.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I wanted to add to that on Chuba Hubbard is he had 31 opportunities last week. I mean, he's getting a massive workload. So, yeah, he's definitely one of those guys you're going to click on his name for sure. Tim, what do you got for one of your other guys here in your favorite plays?
I want to talk about this Detroit Buffalo game because we talked about this is the premier game of the week. And you're going to want exposure. And for me, we did not talk about home golf. And I think it's a very particular reason, right? We always talk about home golf. It's not how you beat Buffalo. You beat Buffalo running the ball. So I'm going to go back to a guy I've touted many times on this show, and that's Jahmyr Gibbs. I think this sets up as a perfect Jahmyr Gibbs week. At 7,500, he gives you an $800 savings over Derrick Henry. And he's kind of in that mid-range at running back where outside of maybe one other guy that we're going to talk about here in a second, nobody's really playing. So I think you get a lot of leverage there and you get that late game hammer. He hasn't had that huge blow up week, but he's had a couple mid-20s weeks where, one thing goes or another, he's busting 30 plus. So again, I'm big on Derrick Henry. I think he's the play, but if you told me Gibbs ended up being the RB1 on the week, I would not at all be shocked.
Yeah, I like that call. I'll talk about the less chalky guy that I have on my list, and that's Brian Robinson at New Orleans at 6.2. There's going to be a lot of chalk in that sort of range. At 6.5 at Chuba, Chase Brown, we haven't talked about, but 7.2, he's going to be pretty chalky as well. Rico Dowdle's going to be chalky at 6.1. Brian Robinson's looked. And I think, if someone told me that this guy's going to get 2 rushing touchdowns and over 100 yards versus this New Orleans Saints defense, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Get down and close. He's the running back. Obviously, we know that Eckler is now pretty much done for the year. So it's the B-Rob show, and I think that's going to be really big in play at 6.2 this week. So I like him a lot. I mentioned a couple guys already. Chase Brown at 7.2. We like him. He's going to be chalky. Rico Dowdle's on the list as well. He's going to be chalky. And you have Gibbs and Monty. So obviously, either one of those running backs for Detroit are good as well. Let's move down into the salary savers, and there's not much this week. I mean, you had to really reach deep, and I don't even know if we're actually going to be playing these guys, if we're just trying to fill out our sheet, because there's not much. But
no, speaking of the Michigan update, I had Braylon Allen, and then Breece Hall had to go and get a full practice in today. Yeah. So as you see, we each have one value running back.
Yep, absolutely.
I'll be honest. I think we should be happy that happened, though, because I don't think Braylon Allen would get that value running back share, because I think Isaiah Davis did better than Braylon Allen last week.
Look pretty good. But Tim, you have one guy there on your list that, if we get some injury news, I haven't heard yet if Bucky has been ruled out, but Rachaad White at 5.8 is a pretty good play.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a core play for me if Bucky's ruled out. Like, I know it's not the best matchup against the Chargers, but they will use him in 3 downs, right? Sean Tucker maybe will play a little bit, but I think it's going to be the Rachaad White show. And we saw last week with, Zach Charbonnet that when somebody like that gets that chance again, right, and they're getting the full workload or 80% of the touches, that it's just too cheap of a price at $5,800.
Yeah.
So for me, assuming Bucky Irving's out, my 3 running backs will be Derrick Henry, Chuba Hubbard, and Rachaad White.
Yeah, I love it. I picked one. Me less chalky, for the salary savers, just for the sake of having another guy. But Ramondre Stevenson at 5.9 versus Arizona. They're 25th DDP versus the running back position. And New England's going to want to try to keep that Arizona offense off the field. And the way you do that is just keep grinding out Stevenson, another guy that gets a lot of red zone carries as well. So I think, he could put up 2 touchdowns easy against this Arizona defense. So I do like him a little bit as well. All right, let's move down into wide receiver.
And now, wide receivers.
And you know what? Let's go ahead and just triple drop this one too.
Lock it in.
We fly, no lie, it's outside. It's like showbiz.
So my lock of the week is Mr. Nico Collins versus Miami at 8.1. Miami is 20th DVOA versus the pass and 25th versus a team's number 1 wide receiver, which obviously Nico Collins is. Coming off his bye, he's gotten, I think, increased workload each of the last couple of weeks that he's been back from his injury. I think this is going to be his monster game that's going to sort of put him back on the map as one of the elite receivers in the NFL. I think he had 11 targets last week, 119 yards. He had 9 targets the week before that, 7 targets the week before that. So he's kind of slowly going up here. And I think Nico Collins is going to blow up. And I think 8.1 is way too cheap. And I think he'll go under-owned because I think there's some other guys on here that are more sexy. Obviously, Jamar Chase at 8.4 coming off of his monster game last week is going to be popular. So I don't think Nico's going to be as highly owned. So he is my lock of the week. Gerson, let's go to you next, man. What do you got? You got a whole list here of receivers you got to cram in there. So pick one of those guys and talk about them.
No, Tim doesn't have a whole list. He has the same list I do. Calm down.
You got
I'm about to quit on you, dude. I am about to quit on you. I am this close.
They're about to pull a Devondre Campbell right now.
I'm leaving you. No. I mean, I think if Derrick Henry wasn't on this, if he wasn't on this slate or this great of a matchup, I think the lock of the week, the smash play would be Jamar Chase. I'm getting some Justin Jefferson vibe. I think the biggest reason, though, it always matters what kind of defense you play, and always matters obviously the tendency, right? The Titans are the best defense you can get against play action, and they are going to bite on that. And we saw Jamar Chase basically last week with a play action, boom, Jamar Chase. He took it for what, 45 yards, 50 yards, or something like that. And if Jamar Chase is not the best at doing that kind of double move, Justin Jefferson is. But 8,400 for a guy that's going to play, he's going to get, well, he got 9 or more targets in every game, seeing 13 or more in 3 or 5, returning 20 DraftKings points in 4 straight, in 2 massive games. I mean, 48 points and 58 DraftKings points. I don't know what more you want in a smash play. Like if we had an extra lock of the week, this guy would be it for me. But
Yeah.
you are gonna have to pay up 8,400. I mean, Henry is 8,300. If you wanted to do 3 value plays, Dowdle, Hubbard, and then do you can't do Chase Brown, but it would be negative correlation right there. But I just love chasing this matchup. I think I wouldn't be shocked if we see play action 80-yard bomb to him.
Yeah, Mickey in the chat, he's got Jamar Chase as his lock of the week this week. So yeah, absolutely, he's a smash play.
I play. I'm out of here. Bye.
I was going to ask you, Geoff, if he had the top matchup, because I feel like he's the top play.
He does not have the top matchup. He is the 3rd best matchup. So yeah, Nico Collins is number 2, and then another guy that I'm going to talk about here in a minute has the number 1.
Good. I like a good tease. All right, so I'm going to go with a guy. You know what? Let me just take the easy one, okay? The layup. It's Jerry Jeudy, okay? We talked about at the top. This guy's basically a lock this week in cash games. You're going to probably have some good exposure in your tournaments as well. 6,200 when Cedric Tillman has been out, which he's out again. It's the Jerry Jeudy show. I'm not, again, I said I'm not really worried about this Kansas City defense. They move him around, which I think will avoid any kind of shadow play. Trent McDuffie's the only corner they got worth of shit left anyway, and I don't expect them to shadow him. So best case scenario, he's on him 33% of the time. And the rest of the time, Jerry Jeudy is just torching the Chiefs. So to me, this is the easy, mid-range play, and then a couple other guys we like as well.
I love it. Jamie in the chat has something that I want to address here because I think this is a misconception. I'm going to put it up on the screen here. So he's saying he likes Nico this week, but he's facing the Dolphins' Ramsey. That's why he's not ranking him as high. So if you look at the shadow index, Ramsey has not been shadowing the number 1 receiver a lot this year. He has been staying on the right side of the field more often than not. The guy lining up on the left side of the field, that'll be Nico Collins' main, defender, is Kendall Fuller.
Yeah.
Kendall Fuller's not.
You suck.
So yeah,
and he's 5'11", just for the record.
Yeah,
that's how tall I am.
Yeah, so yeah, Kendall Fuller's about to get torched. Now maybe they'll make the switch and they'll put Ramsey and they'll still shadow him. It's definitely a possibility. But if you look at their tendencies this year, they have not been put Ramsey in the shadow coverage. They've been leaving him on the right side of the field. So if he gets that Kendall Fuller matchup, that's why I love Nico this week.
Agreed.
All right, and the guy that I teased that has the number 1 matchup on FTN is AJ Brown, and I want to hit this drop here.
Oh my Lord, here we go.
The squeaky wheel gets greased. I know he came out and he clarified his comments and said I wasn't really talking about my quarterback and whatever, but he did come out and say that he wants the ball more. I think they find a way to get the ball to him more. He's got the best match late. He is 8K. He will have low ownership because of those guys we talked about that are all kind of around him. I don't think he'll be clicked on as often, especially after he's had a couple bad games in a row. So AJB at low ownership with the best matchup on the slate, I like a lot. Let's see. We got time to go back through one more time, Gerson. Give me one more of your guys.
And well, the only reason why he came back and said stuff because I'm pretty sure Sirianni got into that, the owner got into that, and probably Jason Kelsey probably called him and said, "What the frick are you doing, dude?" And Jalen Hurts is just in the background like Donovan McNabb 2.0.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm not gonna lie though. Every time you talk about the squeaky wheel, it always hits. So it's better than a revenge narrative. I like that. Yeah. One of the guys I like is Cortland Sutton. The biggest reason why, because the Indianapolis Colts play a heavy cover 3, and Bo Nix and Sutton dominate that. I think, to me, it's just he's his favorite target by far. Like, and I don't really think there's another wide receiver or tight end that I really trust on that Broncos offense to catch ball as much as him. His price is also not bad. It's 6.6K. I mean, in the game environment we're getting, I'm gonna have a lot of exposure to Sutton. I think Bo Nix is very underrated this season. I honestly would not didn't think that he was gonna be this good.
No,
I knew he was
no.
gonna be okay, like maybe, but I mean, he's playing at a like Justin Herbert rookie level, like
Mhm.
he's slinging that. He don't give a crap. Like I think it was a Monday Night Football against the Browns. First play, he just chucked it and then got intercepted. And yeah, I mean, but we see what he does. Sutton is going to be it's one of his favorite targets. You can't go wrong with that. I do want to say running back with Lad McConkey, not running back, but like Lad McConkey, the other guy I want to target is Herbert.
Sure.
I talked about Herbert early on. If he's healthy, McConkey is going to be one of my heaviest owned wide receivers on the week. Hopefully he plays, because if he doesn't, it's going to ruin a lot of my strategy this week.
Yeah, I like it. Tim, give us one more of your guys.
Yeah, the only one I think y'all don't have is Khalil Shakur, aka K-Shack, 6,100. I talked about how much I want exposure to this last game, man. I think the thing for me is that everybody all week has been hyping up Amari Cooper's 14 targets last week, but I think a lot of that was matchup based, right? And I think this week the matchup favors Khalil Shakur in the slot. It's kind of how you pick on Detroit. So I'm going to be heavily exposed, and like I think, they're $800. Like it's not like he's the other guy we'll talk about later. I think is a bit more of a savings, but to me, I'd rather pay the other 800 and play Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, that call a lot. That's a great call.
54 point total.
Yeah.
54 point total.
Yeah, can't ignore that for sure. All right, I just mentioned the last couple of guys that we had on there. Gerson's got both receivers from the Jets, Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. Also, Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7,600. And then Tim has Higgins, who's like the cheaper, exposure to that game. If you don't want to pay up for Chase, get Higgins in there. I know he had a bad game last week, but he had 2 games before that with double-digit targets. So definitely Higgins is in play for sure. And then I think that's everybody. Let's go ahead and move down into the value range here. And Tim, kick us off here.
We got the same guys again. All right, I'm going to play Marv. I talked about it. I like Kyler Sachs this week. He will see Christian Gonzalez, but I think that this is a matchup that's been able to exploit this year. Matchup of their best on best, but I think he's getting better each week, and I think that's the important thing. His volume has continued to go up. His snaps have stayed high. They're using a bit more in the red zone. We've seen him have a 30-plus point game, but the most important thing to me is he's all the way down at 5,500 now, right? Like there aren't many guys in this range, right? I think, like I said, we all have the same guys that have that 25, 30-point upside that you're looking for to win you a tournament, right? And I think Marv is kind of uniquely placed in that spot.
Yeah.
Not to mention, right, I'm pretty sure this is make sure I say this. This is an afternoon game. And I think most of the people are.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say revenge narrative. I'm like, dude,
No.
bro, don't do this to me right now. I'm like,
No.
why?
I was saying that I think most of the people that are playing the late stuff are playing the Bills and Lions, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's where people want that exposure. So
Bro.
Marv could be that guy that you need at the end of the day. That's going to be lower owned. Yep.
I like it.
Gerson was waiting for the revenge.
I was like, how the hell is this a revenge narrative?
Go back to college days. Gerson, what you got for your salary savers?
Yeah, well, you took a crap at my lunch. Revenge narrative. Yeah, Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley is very underrated, man. Like, to me, he always has the highest top 5 air yards, thanks to Will Levis, because he can't throw a freaking football. But if you really look at his stats, 12.9, 6.5, 14.3, 9.8, 25, he's due for a big game now. So, yeah, so let's just ride the rhythm. No, I'm kidding, guys. Like I said, I want to target that game. Cincinnati's going to keep up pace. He's going to throw the ball wild. I mean, Burrow and this Bengals offense is on fire. Their defense is trash. Their secondary is bottom 5. Will Levis is just going to sling it. The other thing is, this defense doesn't really have much of a pass rush. So Levis is going to have time to throw it, and when he does throw it, obviously it's very inaccurate, but it's deep balls and stuff, and that's what Calvin Ridley strives at. 5.9K, he's very cheap. He's not expensive at all, and I don't mean besides Jeff Boy, NWA or whatever his name is, NWI. Ridley's the only one getting peppered with targets. I mean, they usually just run the ball with Pollard. I mean, that offense is just disgusting. I thought it was disgusting when they had Mike Vrabel. It's even more disgusting now. Like, it's on another level. But give me Ridley. It's more for the game stack, run it back with him.
Yeah, I like it. All right, so I got a couple guys still left. I'll talk about the chalkier one, Adam Thielen versus Dallas at 5.4. 2 straight games now. He's got double-digit targets. I think his success has kind of coincided with Bryce Young's success. We saw even early last year, Bryce Young and Thielen had that connection early in the season. I think they've gotten it back at 5.4 versus Dallas is definitely a good play. And then I just wanted to mention Jalen Waddle at Houston at 5.7. He's more of a guy that I want in my Nico Collins skinny stacks, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But I think Waddle at 5.7 is too cheap, and we saw him kind of come on last week. I'm hoping that's a sign of things to come. So I think his 5.7 price tag is just too low. All right, let's move down into the defenses.
Defense.
All right, Tim, kick us off here.
All right. So the best defensive play on the board is the Ravens, but they're 3,900, right? Really hard to get to this week. I have them projected for almost 12 points, which puts them as one of the best value defenses on the week too. But they don't show up as my optimal because you give up too many points at running back, I think, to get there, right? Second team, well, I'll leave that one for Gerson. I think that what I'm most likely going to do is punt defense completely this week. I'm going to be paying down in the 2,300, most likely playing the Cleveland Browns because that's how I get to Derrick Henry. So I think that's the most important thing. I don't see a defense other than the Ravens really smashing the slate that you have to have. And so I'd rather take my 4 points and 6 points and move on.
Yeah, I like it. Gerson, what do you got for your defense?
I love what Tim said at the end. I don't really see a defense matching beside the Raven. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna put the Giants defense on there because I don't see a defense matching. But then I realized I'm not that stupid. So, yeah. I have the Los
You
Angeles
just can't
Chargers.
take a negative, right? Like that's the rule.
Yeah.
You just can't take a negative.
Hell, I'll take a 0 out of 2.1K just to fit in all my other players.
Sure.
But when you take a -6, you're just going, So the Chargers defense, I think it's more on what's called. Let's see. I can't find their defense. It's more of a 2,900 price. You're sticking in the range of 3,029 to 2,200, which is the Browns, Chargers, and then even the Eagles, which is not on our list, but and then the Broncos at 3.2, I guess 3.2K. But really, to me, if I'm looking for turnovers, they got Joey Bosa and all these guys, Derwin James. I mean, they can create turnovers. It's gonna suck though because we're gonna pay 2,900, 3,200, and next thing we know, one of those cheap defense is gonna go off, and that $500, $600 difference could have made the difference for you to get a guy like Jamar Chase, a guy like Derrick Henry, a guy like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, all these guys. I just feel like the way you're going to save this week is definitely going to be through tight end and defense, and that's my favorite position to save that too. So, but I love the Chargers defense. But again, it's the Ravens defense. If you want to pay up for it, but good luck.
Yeah, tough to get there for sure. I do have one other pay up defense that I want to talk about, and it's more about the quarterback they're going to be facing. That's Commanders going up against a guy who I had literally never heard of, and I played Dynasty. Jake Haener, is that how you say his name? I mean, he's what, the third or fourth string guy at this point. Yeah, I don't see that happening. I see the Commanders have been decent enough on defense, at least fantasy wise, they've been decent enough. And Jake Haener is just not going to do it for me. So at 3.4, I like the Commanders to put some
How do you
points
know,
up there.
dude? Washington and Fresno State.
I don't.
I mean,
I don't.
he fucking sucks.
I literally just know him from that photo shoot.
Yeah, he sucks so. Yeah, he sucks so bad that they did like a photo shoot and like they like roasted him on Twitter. Like they had like he had one where he looked like. I'm like, dude, you're a backup quarterback. Why are you even posing, dude?
Agreed. Yeah, he thought he was Gardner Minshew. That's all I could think of.
Yeah,
he got some Minshew in him, which is what we hope for, right? He goes out there and slings it,
and throws some turnovers, gets some sacks. Yeah. Exactly. I don't think we mentioned the Broncos, right? Broncos you had on the list.
Yeah, he touched on it a little bit. I think they could potentially be optimal depending on if some additional value opens up.
Mm-hmm.
But Gerson said it. This week you're punting tight end and you're punting defense, and you're paying up for the big guys.
Agreed. All right, it's time for our stacks.
GoingFor2.com's weekly stack report.
All right, Gerson, I'm going to go to you because your stack has a bunch of guys that we haven't really talked about. So I want you to talk about your stack.
Yeah, man. I mean, you guys stole my stack, to be honest. Not you, Geoff.
That's true.
Because your stack is way different now. It wasn't before. It
was Josh.
Yeah. I wanted it. Yeah. I just realized you changed it. Okay, we're all going to copy over now.
Yeah. Way to go, Geoff. You ruined it for me. But yeah, it's not my favorite, but it is 2,500. And if you don't,
I think we're losing Gerson there. We were getting broken up. Hopefully he can come back in a minute. But he had Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, and then Brenton Strange as your bring back. Obviously, you're playing for those guys, so you got to get that cheap tight end to be the bring back. So yeah, I like that stack a lot. And I'm sorry I took the popular stack, but go ahead and give us your stack, Tim.
You did, yeah. The stack that Geoff had was, of course, Josh Allen, right, Khalil Shakir, and Jahmyr Gibbs, which I agree is my favorite stack of the week. So I had to go with the chalk stack here, which is just the pure chalk. And this is obviously, Gerson said, it depends if Ladd McConkey plays. Because if he doesn't play, I'm definitely pivoting off this. But it's Justin Herbert, Ladd McConkey, right, Stone Smart, and Rachaad White. The straight chalk, because this is my cash stack. And I'll get different in tournaments. But to me, there's just too much value here to ignore. And that's how you get to Derrick Henry.
Agreed.
Hey, wait. Where did you drop me off at?
We heard your just Roger, and then you broke off. So
okay, so Aaron Rodgers is 5.4K. I don't think a lot of people realize it. He's really cheap. Well, he hasn't had like an elite game. If there's any game that he can have an elite game, it's against this Jacksonville Jaguars pass defense.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so my stack, which I switched to, obviously Tim mentioned the one that I did have, the Buffalo Bills stack there, but I switched to, and I had to make sure I can fit these guys in. I almost did a double stack. So I got B-Rob in the Commanders, Brian Robinson in the Commanders defense as my first stack. But then I'm going to skinny stack Jalen Waddle and Nico Collins. And the only way you can get to that kind of stack is if you have the cheap tight end there. So you're going to have to put Brenton Strange. So I will have at least one tournament lineup that looks like that with B-Rob, Commanders, and skinny stack of Waddle and Nico.
I feel like that math guy. Trying to figure out how to do this. Two stacks.
Yeah, double stack into one lineup. I do that a lot where I stack two games, and these are two games that I like here. These two teams. So, all right, fellas, it's time for the sick call.
And now, the sick call of the week.
All right, as we talk about often on this show, the sick call gets harder and harder and harder as you go through the season to find guys that are, cheap, low owned, that are actually, semi decent playable plays. So we're reaching pretty hard here, but Gerson, go ahead and give us your sick call first.
Yeah, I mean, it was very hard.
Let's talk about how we went 0 for 4 last week.
Yeah, we definitely swung and missed on all of ours last week for sure.
We did. Calvin Austin somehow became almost chalk by Sunday morning with Pickens out, which was just insane to see, by the way. Just
Yeah.
put that out. Talk about sick calls never get played. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so funny thing about that. So when I do my player pool, I always save it, right? And I included Calvin Austin like the night before, and so he wasn't in my player pool when roster locked. And I was like, when I woke up, I'm like, oh my goodness, Pickens was out. I forgot. Holy crap! Jeff had was it you, Jeff, that had him as your sick call or him?
No, it's Aaron.
Oh, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I went and looked at his stats. I'm like, yeah, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I was like, hallelujah. But no, uh, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a lot of things I like, but mayonnaise isn't one of them. And Will Levis loved it. Will Levis, I did it a couple weeks ago where I said Anthony Richardson was gonna be a sick call of the week. This week I'm gonna do Will Levis at 5K. Obviously, this is gonna be stacking it with only one of the wide receivers of Chase or Higgin, and then Calvin Ridley.
Correct.
He's gonna have to sling it. That pass defense is pretty bad, and he's gonna have to keep up pace. I mean, not keep up pace. They're just gonna score on them so much that he's just gonna get on the field so much at 5K. And I think it's contrarian because there's a lot of good quarterback plays, but along with that, quarterback play, there's a lot of good plays all around. And I don't think anybody can even stack a Levis and Ridley game. And if they both go off, I'm climbing, man.
Yeah, I like it.
I really like it too. Because I think it's possible if you use Will Levis to get Henry and Chase. And
Yeah.
that sounds super tempting.
Yeah, I like it. Tim, what you got for yours?
Yeah, we talked about I liked all the cheap tight ends and now they're all chalk. So I had to go a different route. So I went the Geoff route, which is find a wide receiver that can get there in one play. And I'm going with Diami Brown, whatever his name is, for the Washington Commanders. It seemed like once Noah Brown went out last week, he was the main beneficiary. I know some people are hyped on Luke McCaffrey, but it's not that time, man. He's not CMC, right? And again, I don't expect him to have some crazy game, right? I'm hoping for, 13 points would be amazing. But we just talked about, right? You want Chase, you want Henry, you want to find a way to do it semi-optimally. And if you can play a 2,600 Stone Smart and a 3,100 Diami Brown, it's about the only way you could get there outside of playing Will Levis.
Yeah, I like that call a lot. Living in the Washington area, he's been a guy getting some buzz. Even before Noah Brown went out, he was getting some buzz as a guy they're trying to work into the offense a lot more. So that's a really good price. I'm going with my draft crush. He's making his return. Keon
Mike Evans?
Keon Coleman at
Blake Bortles? No.
Yeah, Blake Bortles. Yeah, don't bring up those bad memories.
Giannis United?
I ain't that
Sorry,
old.
Jeff.
Keon Coleman at Detroit, 4.8. Cheap exposure to that high total game. I think Keon is sort of a touchdown guy. He's going to be used in the red zone. He's a physical receiver. So at 4.8, people are going to overlook him. He's probably going to go almost 0% ownership. So I like Keon Coleman this week, and I haven't picked him as my sit call all year. Like I said, he was my draft crush. He's my my most owned rookie in a lot of my dynasty leagues. So I had to get him in here, give him a shout out, and hopefully he pays off this week at 4.8.
Oh, he ain't lying. He talked about Keon Coleman on every podcast in the offseason.
Yeah, he did. I love Keon Coleman. So I'm hoping he started to break out, and then he got hurt. He had a couple good games there.
You know for sure he's wearing that big ass puffy jacket this week.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right, fellas, that wraps the podcast up. I want to thank both of you for joining me, and obviously everybody in the chat that was chatting.
Hold on. We have to go over 1 hour. We still have two more minutes. Hold on. All right. Just kidding, Jeff. So.
Yeah, we're right there at the 1 hour mark, which we usually we tend to go over. So yeah, I know Jamie hates Keon Coleman, so I know his do not start Keon Coleman this week. So yeah, Jamie's not a fan. All right, let's go around the room here. Gerson, why don't you go first?
Yeah, you can find me at Fantasy GDFS. Find me here on the Friday show, and you can find me on the Wednesday show next week, right, Jeff?
Yep.
For the Christmas show. I will be there. I already told my coworkers on Thursday I might be a little bit hungover because I like that show because I know some of the guys take some shots, so it'll be fun.
It'll be some drinking for sure. Unfortunately, Tim, you're not going to be able to make it this year, but I think you've made most of the other ones. But what you got going on, man?
Yeah, fortunately, I will be busy Wednesday, but I will be maybe catching it on the phone. But yeah, on Twitter, find me at KetoDFS, and then on DraftKings, send me an invite at Keto06.
Love it. As always, guys, follow me on Twitter at Geoff Lambert77. I definitely encourage you to join us on that Wednesday show. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's going to be 10 of our hosts on the same show. We're playing trivia games. We're just going to be having fun, drinking. It's going to be
always a good show.
Yeah, jump into the chat, help us out with the trivia. I got some good stuff planned this year. I'm doing something called the Ultimate Team, where basically we're going to have 2 teams and we're going to have rosters, blank rosters. We're going to spin the wheel, and there's going to be categories like NFC East or a team that has mostly red in there, and you're going to have to pick an all-time player from that category and give their year. And I'm going to plug in their fantasy points for that year, and we're going to build out an entire fantasy roster and see who comes in first. So that'll be a lot of fun. Little sneak peek there of one of the trivia games I came up with. Should be a lot of fun.
Can't wait to pick Devontae Campbell so I can quit halfway through that show too.
All right, fellas. For Gerson, for Tim, I'm Geoff. Good luck this week, and we will see y'all next week.
Go Pack.